What if I told you that the difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who struggle financially for life has nothing to do with income, education, or even luck? What if the real barrier to your financial freedom is happening inside your mind right now and you don't even know it? Here's a shocking truth that will change how you think about money forever. The average American family with a six-figure income lives paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, janitors and school teachers retire as millionaires. Most people think wealth is about income, intelligence, or luck. But the real reason 90% never build lasting wealth is psychological. In this video, we break down how your brain is wired to sabotage money decisions and how to rewire it to join the 10% who quietly build real wealth. But first, let me tell you about something that happened to someone I know just last month. We'll call her Sarah. She earns $85,000 a year as a marketing manager. She drives a brand new BMW, lives in a beautiful apartment, and posts Instagram photos from expensive restaurants weekly. On paper, she looks successful. But when her car needed repairs last month, she had to put it on a credit card because she literally had $37 in her checking account. Meanwhile, her co-worker Mike, who makes $20,000 less than her, just bought his second rental property. What's the difference? Their financial psychology. The human brain wasn't designed for modern money decisions. Our ancestors lived in survival mode, focused on immediate needs and instant gratification. When you see something you want, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in addiction. This creates what psychologists call present bias, where your brain values immediate pleasure over future benefits. Understanding this is your first step toward financial mastery. Let's talk about the wealth psychology framework that separates the rich from everyone else. Wealthy people have trained their brains to think differently about three core areas: time, risk, and value. While most people think in terms of months or years, wealthy individuals think in decades. They understand compound interest not just mathematically, but emotionally. They feel the power of time working for them rather than against them. Rich people also have a completely different relationship with risk. Poor people see risk everywhere, in investing, in starting businesses, in changing careers. But here's the paradox. Staying in your comfort zone is actually the riskiest financial move you can make. Inflation alone guarantees that keeping money in savings accounts will make you poorer over time. Wealthy people understand that the biggest risk is not taking calculated risks. The third difference is how they perceive value. Most people see a dollar as something to spend. Wealthy people see every dollar as a potential employee that could work for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, generating more money while they sleep. This shift in perception changes everything about how they make financial decisions. Now let me introduce you to the concept of financial identity. Your financial identity is the story you tell yourself about money and your relationship with it. These stories usually form in childhood and operate below conscious awareness. Maybe you grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees or rich people are greedy. These unconscious beliefs create what psychologists call cognitive dissonance when you try to build wealth. Here's where it gets fascinating. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, or RAS. This system filters information to match your existing beliefs. If you believe you're bad with money, your RAS will highlight every financial mistake you make while ignoring your successes. If you believe building wealth is possible for you, your RAS will notice opportunities everywhere. Changing your financial identity literally changes what you see in the world. Let me share a story that perfectly demonstrates this principle in action. 3 years ago, I met David at a financial seminar. He was a delivery driver making $32,000 a year, drowning in credit card debt, and convinced he'd never be financially free. But David had one thing going for him. He was willing to challenge his money beliefs. David started by tracking every expense for 30 days, not to judge himself, but to become aware of his unconscious spending patterns. He discovered he was spending over $400 monthly on convenience purchases, gas station snacks, fast food, and impulse buys. But instead of beating himself up, he got curious. Why was he making these purchases? The answer surprised him. David realized he was using spending as an emotional regulation tool. When he felt stressed, overwhelmed, or tired, he'd buy something small to feel better temporarily. This insight changed everything. Instead of trying to use willpower to stop spending, David addressed the underlying emotional triggers. He started packing healthy snacks, meal prepping on Sundays, and finding free ways to manage stress like walking and meditation. Within 6 months, David had redirected that $400 monthly into an index fund. But the real transformation was psychological. For the first time in his adult life, David felt in control of his finances. This confidence spilled over into other areas. He negotiated a raise at work, started a side business, and began seeing himself as someone who was good with money. Today, just 3 years later, David has built a net worth of over $50,000 and is on track to become a millionaire within 15 years. David's transformation illustrates the power of what I call the wealth psychology loop. First, you change your beliefs about money. This changes your behavior with money. Better behavior creates better results. Better results reinforce positive beliefs, creating an upward spiral toward financial success. The next psychological principle wealthy people understand is delayed gratification. In the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment, children who could wait for a second marshmallow instead of eating one immediately went on to have higher SAT scores, better health, and more successful careers. The ability to delay gratification is perhaps the strongest predictor of financial success. But here's what most people don't realize. Delayed gratification isn't about willpower. It's about making the future feel real and compelling. Wealthy people use visualization techniques to connect emotionally with their future selves. They imagine how it will feel to be financially free, to never worry about bills, to have choices that money provides. This emotional connection makes it easier to choose long-term benefits over short-term pleasures. Another crucial psychological concept is loss aversion. People feel the pain of losing money twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. This evolutionary trait helped our ancestors survive, but it wreaks havoc on modern investment decisions. Loss aversion causes people to sell investments when they're down and avoid investing altogether out of fear. Wealthy people overcome loss aversion by reframing losses as learning experiences and focusing on long-term trends rather than short-term fluctuations. They understand that market volatility is the price you pay for market returns. Instead of seeing a portfolio decline as losing money, they see it as shares going on sale. The psychology of money also involves understanding cognitive biases that sabotage financial decisions. Confirmation bias makes us seek information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. If you believe the stock market is risky, you'll focus on market crashes while ignoring decades of long-term growth. Anchoring bias causes us to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we encounter. If the first stock tip you heard lost money, you might anchor on the belief that stock investing is gambling. Availability bias makes us overestimate the likelihood of events that are easy to remember, like market crashes that get extensive media coverage. Recognizing these biases doesn't eliminate them. They're hardwired into human psychology. But awareness allows you to create systems that work around them. Wealthy people automate their investments so emotions can't derail their strategy. They diversify their portfolios so no single investment can destroy their wealth. They educate themselves continuously to combat ignorance and fear. The most important psychological shift involves changing your relationship with time. Most people trade time for money in a linear fashion. Work more hours, make more money. But there's a ceiling to this approach because there are only 24 hours in a day. Wealthy people understand that money can buy time through investments that generate passive income. This requires what psychologists call temporal reframing, the ability to see present sacrifices as future freedom. When you invest money instead of spending it, you're not giving up purchasing power. You're buying future time. Every $1,000 invested at a 7% annual return becomes over $7,000 in 30 years. That's not just money, that's freedom from having to work for money. And to make this journey effortless, we're building the Trip2Wealth Command Center, a Google Sheet system that brings your income, spending, investing, and net worth together in one place. It's your personal strategy hub, designed to expose money leaks, highlight growth opportunities, and show how small decisions compound into real wealth. Join the early access list below and secure a discount as an early supporter. Every wealth system needs a strategy. This is where yours begins. The final piece of wealth psychology involves understanding the difference between assets and liabilities, not just financially, but psychologically. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket over time. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket over time. But here's the psychological twist. Many people buy liabilities thinking they're assets. A new car feels like an asset because it's valuable and useful. But psychologically, it's a liability because it depreciates in value while requiring insurance, maintenance, and fuel. Wealthy people buy assets that appreciate over time: stocks, bonds, real estate, businesses. They understand that true wealth comes from owning things that generate income, not from owning expensive things. This psychological reframe changes everything about how you evaluate purchases. Before buying anything significant, ask yourself, will this put money in my pocket or take money out of my pocket over time? This simple question can save you from financial decisions that feel good in the moment but destroy wealth over time. The psychology of wealth building also involves understanding the power of identity-based habits. Instead of setting goals like, I want to save more money, wealthy people adopt identity statements like, I am someone who invests 20% of my income. Identity-based habits are more powerful because they're connected to how you see yourself rather than what you want to achieve. When your actions align with your identity, they feel natural and sustainable. If you see yourself as an investor, researching stocks feels exciting rather than boring. If you see yourself as financially disciplined, saying no to unnecessary purchases feels empowering rather than restrictive. Building wealth also requires overcoming what psychologists call the planning fallacy, the tendency to underestimate how long tasks will take and overestimate our future willpower. Most people create unrealistic budgets that require superhuman discipline, then feel like failures when they can't stick to them. Wealthy people plan for their human nature rather than against it. They automate savings so willpower isn't required. They build small rewards into their financial plan so the journey feels sustainable. They understand that consistency matters more than perfection, and they design systems that work even when motivation is low. The emotional component of wealth building can't be ignored. Money triggers deep psychological responses related to security, status, and self-worth. Many people have complicated relationships with money based on childhood experiences, family dynamics, and cultural messages. These emotional patterns often sabotage financial success even when someone has the knowledge to build wealth. Healing your money story requires honest self-examination. What messages about money did you receive growing up? What emotions come up when you think about investing, saving, or spending? What fears keep you from taking positive financial action? Understanding these patterns is essential because you can't outsmart emotions with logic alone. The good news is that financial psychology can be changed. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, the ability to form new neural pathways throughout your life. By consistently practicing new money behaviors and challenging limiting beliefs, you can literally rewire your brain for financial success. This transformation starts with small, consistent actions. Begin by tracking your net worth monthly, not to judge yourself, but to become aware of your financial reality. Automate investments so good decisions happen without willpower. Read books and listen to podcasts about personal finance to reprogram your unconscious beliefs about money. Most importantly, start thinking of yourself as someone who is learning to build wealth rather than someone who is bad with money. This subtle shift in identity will change how you approach financial decisions and make the journey feel possible rather than overwhelming. Before we wrap up, let me share one final story that ties everything together. My mentor, Robert, grew up in poverty with parents who fought constantly about money. He learned to associate wealth with conflict and stress. For years, even as his income increased, Robert unconsciously sabotaged his financial progress through overspending and poor investment decisions. The breakthrough came when Robert realized his financial struggles weren't about knowledge. They were about psychology. He started working with a therapist to heal his money trauma while simultaneously educating himself about investing and wealth building. He learned to separate his past experiences from his present choices. Today, Robert has built a 7-figure net worth and helps others overcome their financial psychology barriers. His transformation demonstrates that changing your financial future requires changing both your knowledge and your psychology. You need the technical skills to build wealth and the emotional intelligence to stick with the process long enough for compound interest to work its magic. Understanding the psychology of wealth building gives you a massive advantage because most people never examine their unconscious money beliefs. They repeat the same financial patterns year after year, wondering why their situation never improves. By becoming aware of how your mind processes money decisions, you can design strategies that work with your psychology rather than against it. Now let's recap everything we've discussed. The path to wealth isn't about making more money. It's about rewiring your financial psychology. Start by examining your money beliefs and challenging stories that limit your potential. Embrace delayed gratification by connecting emotionally with your future financial freedom. Overcome loss aversion by focusing on long-term trends rather than short-term market fluctuations. Recognize cognitive biases that sabotage your decisions and create systems to work around them. Transform your relationship with time by seeing investments as purchases of future freedom. Adopt identity-based habits that align with who you want to become financially. Plan for your human nature rather than against it by automating good decisions. Heal your emotional money story through honest self-examination and conscious reprogramming. Remember, small, consistent changes in how you think about money will compound into massive changes in your financial reality over time. If you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning.